Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast with the headlines of the day from our correspondents around the world. I'm Qizhi. Coming up in this edition, Israel vows a forceful response after Houthi missile strikes near Ben Gurion Airport, marking a dangerous escalation in regional conflict. Japan slams new U.S. auto tariffs as extremely regrettable, warning of serious fallout for its car industry and the economy. And Pakistan is Russian food aid to border areas amid fears of Indian retaliation over a deadly attack in a tourist hotspot. We start in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will take strong action against the Houthis following a missile attack that targeted Israel's main international airport. The Yemeni group said it would continue to launch missiles at airports as part of its air blockade against Israel. The Houthis claimed responsibility for an attack that hit a driveway leading to the main terminal of Ben Gurion Airport in central Israel. Israel's army confirmed it was the first time a missile struck airport grounds since this round of conflict began. Jonathan Regev reports from Ben Gurion Airport.
Another missile was fired from Yemen, as happened many times before. Only this time, the missile was not intercepted. Two different interceptors were fired towards that missile from Yemen. One is an Israeli Arrow missile, the other an American THAAD, and both missed the missile fired from Yemen. Despite being tracked as soon as it left Yemen, the missile was able to fly the 1,400 miles or so, landing in the premises of Ben Gurion Airport, and the impact was very well felt in the main terminal, in the tarmac, in the runway. And shortly after that, various foreign airlines such as United and Delta from the United States, British Airways, the Lufthansa Group, which also encompasses other European airlines, all of them have announced that they are suspending flights to Israel. The flights are suspended for a period of 48 to 72 hours. Israel made a very big effort to bring back all those foreign airlines. Many of them did not fly to Israel for months and months, exactly due to these kind of things, due to the missiles that were fired towards Ben Gurion Airport, towards the Tel Aviv area, and it was very difficult and took a lot of time to bring back most of the foreign airlines. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz, both of them setting out threats to the Houthis, saying that whoever hits Israel should expect to receive a much stronger retaliation, a much bigger strike. And while there's demand for an Israeli action in Yemen, it is really unclear how effective it can be. We know that the Americans are hitting Yemen night after night after night, something that the capabilities of the Americans with their aircraft carriers being right there in the area, their capabilities are bigger than the Israeli ones. Israel is located some 1,400 miles away. So what can Israel do that the United States is not doing? It is not exactly clear.
That was Jonathan Regev reporting. A senior Israeli defense official says the military is issuing tens of thousands of call-up orders for reservists as it prepares to intensify the offensive in the Gaza Strip. The chief of the general staff said there are increasing pressure to defeat Hamas and bring back hostages. The official said the military will destroy all militant infrastructure in Gaza, and the reservists will serve in other areas, including the northern border and the West Bank. Israel's 3-month blockade of aid deliveries has pushed Gaza hospitals to the brink of collapse. Health Ministry official Bassam al-Hamdini says they are days away from running out of resources.
We are now about 3 days away from completely running out of fuel inside hospitals. That is because the occupation of the Israeli army is preventing international and UN organizations from accessing diesel tanks, which are known to be located in Israeli military zones.
The Hamas-run media Authors says Israel continues to block baby formula, nutritional supplements and humanitarian aid, leaving more than 70,000 children hospitalized for severe malnutrition. Rami Amagari has more on food prices in Gaza.
The food situation in Gaza is getting desperate by time as people are unable to get some basic essential supplies, including the flour. People in the market say that a bag of flour is sold for more than about 300 or 400 US dollars. This is a very skyrocketing price with people's inability to buy those goods and commodities. With starvation is looming over the whole region while the aid is not entering the Gaza Strip for several weeks now, and there is no possibility for these aid to come by international pressure, as Israeli media reports suggested that Israel is considering a plan of its own within 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, while Israeli army operations continue unabated in the territory.
That was Rami Amgari reporting from Gaza City. In other parts of Asia, Pakistan is speeding up the distribution of rations to residents in regions bordering India. Islamabad is anticipating an attack from New Delhi as India blames its neighbour for a deadly attack on a tourist region. Daniel Khan visited a village near the front line, preparing for a possible escalation.
Located near the line of control in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, Chakoti is used to being on the front line of conflict. And once again, residents are preparing for the worst.
I'm at the border village of Chakoti, just 2 kilometers from the line of control. 60 families live on edge, watched day and night by Indian Army posts perched high on the surrounding hills. Beneath them lie 30 concrete bunkers not far from their homes, a stark reminder that here the threat of war is never far away.
In this remote corner of Azad Kashmir, the silence is deceptive. Beneath the calm, fear brews as tensions between India and Pakistan escalate. 2 brothers, part of a family of 5, clear out their underground bunker, last used in 2019. One of them, Adil Ahmed, says, when the shelling starts, they all squeeze into the small space. There are just 2 bunkers for 50 people. That's the line of control. India's up there in the mountains, and we're down here in the low-lying area, which makes us a lot more exposed. Across Chakoti, villagers are bracing for more, hauling straw, fixing wooden beams, and readying emergency supplies. The Pakistani government has asked residents to stockpile rations for at least 2 months. These bunkers, about 3 meters wide and just as deep, are the residents' only refuge. Sometimes the firing lasts for 3, 4, even 6 days. That's why we've stocked up with a month's worth of supplies: food, water, bedding, everything we might need. Adil's younger brother Ibrahim tells us it's hard to focus on schoolwork when explosions rattle their village. They've announced that schools will be closed for 10 days. Since we're so close to the LOC, it's really tough for students. Sometimes the firing starts right in the middle of our exams and we just can't focus or study properly. Pakistan says nearly 1.5 million civilians live along the line of control. Many can't afford to leave. They're tied to their livestock, homes, and history. For them, survival depends on what's built underground. And while leaders trade blame and threats, families here do what they've always done: prepare, wait, and hope that this time the war drums wait before the shells fall.
That was Daniel Khan reporting. In Japan, Washington's 25% tariffs on imported auto parts that took effect on the weekend have added pressure on Japan's auto industry. Tokyo says the move is extremely regrettable as concerns grow over jobs, exports, and local economies. Chu Yanbai has more from Tokyo.
Last Saturday, U.S. President Trump's administration imposed an additional 25% tariff on imported key auto parts, in another blow to Japan's car industry, already slapped with the same rate of tariff on automobiles. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba described the new tariffs as extremely regrettable and said Japan would continue to demand that they be reversed. Automobiles are a core Japanese industry with an extensive supply chain for parts makers. There is concern among the country's parts makers that the new U.S. tariffs could have a huge impact. Data from Japan's finance ministry show that the country's auto parts exports to the U.S. stood at 1.23 trillion yen, or about $8.5 billion in 2024. The amount accounted for almost 6% of Japan's total exports to the U.S., the second biggest item after automobiles. A recent survey by the influential Nikkei business newspaper of 44 major parts makers found nearly 70% exported products to the U.S. and will face a greater burden from the new tariff. Some parts makers are considering shifting production to the U.S. or other places in response to the tariff, following the same steps of some major Japanese automobile manufacturers. The auto industry supported 5.6 million jobs in Japan, just under 10% of the country's workforce. The government is concerned that if parts makers also move production out of Japan, local economies in the country could suffer. Japan and the U.S. has agreed to hold an intensive series of ministerial meetings on the tariff issue, starting in mid-May. One major cabinet official told Japanese media that he understands that the two countries see next month's G7 summit as an opportunity to announce an agreement. But he added that many uncertainties remain because U.S. President Trump has frequently shifted his position on tariffs.
That was Chu Yangbai reporting. In China, Hainan province has taken advantage of the May Day holiday to stage concerts, music festivals and other cultural and sporting activities. The southern island is also issuing coupons for flight and hotel bookings until the end of June. Xiao Peng from Sansha Satellite TV takes a look at the festive vibe.
Flights from Malaysia and Singapore have arrived in Hainan's capital city of Haikou. A total of 167 passengers quickly passed through customs clearance with the assistance of border inspection officers.
We came to Sanya this time as part of a company team-building trip. China's visa-free policy is very convenient, and the customs clearance process was very smooth.
A series of activities such as a summer lawn concert and the food and music cultural week focusing on Yinge dance, part of China's intouchable cultural heritage, were also staged.
We came here at 2 p.m. picnicking, camping and soaking up the May Day holiday vibe. Hainan's cultural tourism is doing a great job.
Sanya City has launched a giveaway initiative at volunteers at Sanya Phoenix International Airport, railway stations and duty-free stores hand out fresh coconuts directly to visitors.
I'm a student in University of Sanya. I'm so happy to participate in this activity, which is send out coconuts for free. When I see the smile on visitor face, I feel my job is very good.
Sanya's nightlife also offers immersive experiences through a variety of activities.
From Brazil, and this was the best carnival I've ever seen. Like, Brazil does a lot of carnivals, but this was the best one of all because the music and the dancers.
Finishing this run gave me a real sense of accomplishment. It felt like a personal breakthrough.
In Danzhou, a dazzling fireworks display and a bustling fireworks-themed market have filled the vibe.
We came from Haikou with our kids for a fun trip and unexpectedly witnessed this grand, breathtaking display. The scale was beyond imagination.
Through a wide range of festive events, Hainan is presenting its tropical characteristics to tourists and locals alike.
That was Xiao Peng on holiday celebrations in Hainan province. Monday marks not only the last day of the May Day holiday, but also the final day of the third phase of the 137th China Import and Export Fair, or Canton Fair, in Guangzhou. Tan Bo has more on the highlights of the fair from the southern Chinese city.
The third phase is all about the theme Better Life, including 5 sections with 21 exhibition areas featuring 284 companies from 30 countries and regions. And you'll be able to find everything from toys and maternity products to fashion, home textiles, and leisure items. Over 12,000 exhibitors are showcasing their offerings at the third phase of the Canton Fair. And it's worth noticing that the American buyers are actually not absent from this year's Canton Fair, given the tariff policies imposed by the Trump administration. They said that they have long-standing partners in China for so many years, so it is impossible for them to cut the connections immediately. And they say they heavily rely on China's manufacturing industries. The first two phases of the Canton Fair brought together more than 220,000 buyers from 219 countries and regions. That's a new record. And in the third phase, exhibitors are rolling out thoughtful and customized products. For example, there are this kind of zippers that need to have designed to be opened by both hands for security reasons, and there are ergonomic bathroom products created to make life easier for the elderly. So it's all about providing solutions that can really help improve people's everyday experiences. And the organizer of the fair, the China Trade Center, said that they have been supporting foreign trade companies by waiving booth fee in the rural revitalization areas and reducing booth fee by 50% for other export exhibitors. And this year's Canton Fair also organized 49 local trade delegations to create this kind of a database of high-quality enterprises. It aims to optimize the process of selection process of the exhibitors so as to allow more enterprises in need to participate the Canton Fair.
That was Tambo in Guangzhou. Finally, in Africa, the Sudanese army has reported a drone attack on a military airbase near Port Sudan Airport by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. This was the first attack by the RSF to reach the eastern port city, which has been serving as the government's headquarters since the conflict erupted 2 years ago. Naba Muhyiddin has more in Port Sudan.
It was surprising for hundreds of thousands of people who chose Port Sudan to be a safe place for them, as it's the last city. It's in the borders with the Red Sea, and it's really far from the capital, and it's the temporary capital of the country. But the Sudanese military said they contained the situation, and actually they opened the airspace after it was closed for many hours, and they said they arrested the suspected people who helped the militia. The situation was really scary for many people, for school students, for families who were suddenly surprised by this drone attack, because it's the first time since the war erupted that Port Sudan is attacked. So it's a message from the militia that the war now has entered a new phase and there is no safe place for Sudanese people to go. There is some losses in buildings and specifically in a warehouse for Sudanese military, and some weapons warehouses were attacked. The Sudanese military is expecting that the militia will try to attack the city again.
That was Naba Muhyiddin reporting on new hostilities in Sudan. Now, recapping headlines before we go, Israel has vowed a forceful response after a Houthi missile strikes a main international airport. Japan has slammed new US auto tariffs as extremely regrettable, warning of serious fallout for its car industry and economy. And Pakistan is rationing food aid to border areas amid fears of Indian retaliation over a deadly attack in a tourist hotspot. And that's it for this edition of The Top Story, a podcast that brings you world headlines every weekday. For more news in politics, business, sports and culture, you can subscribe to the Beijing Hour, a 1-hour podcast news magazine program. We welcome and appreciate all ratings and reviews. I'm Qi Zhi. Thank you for listening.